Hey students, welcome to lesson 5 in the home music theory course. Today I've got a special one for you. It's scales, and we're going to be learning about the rest of the scales, major scales specifically, that we didn't end up talking about last time. So let's just take a look here at what we got. So let's take a look. We're beginning on page 50 today. Wow, we're getting far. Okay, so there's a lot of information here, and we're going to go over it actually just in a couple of minutes, and I'll tell you why. Because remember the last time I talked about the formula of the major scale, and it was whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. So like if you start on C, you got whole, half, whole, half, just like that. Now this is literally when you take that same thing and you apply it like on A, you go whole, half, whole, half, just like that. Same thing with like E flat, you start on E flat, whole, half, whole, half. And all the way through to the end of time, through the end of the list. One thing I want to tell you is that a key can have a maximum of 7 sharps and a maximum of 7 flats. Why is that? Well, let's take a look. So remember, in a key, or scale rather, there were 8 notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. But there's only 7 individual notes. Oh, that sounds good. And the 8th note is really just a copy of the first. Therefore, we don't count it again. You can't sharp that note twice. Once you sharped it, it sharps its counterpart. Or you can think of these as maybe mirrored to each other. But anyways, there's only 7 individual notes. So therefore, there's only 7 notes you could possibly sharp or flat. So what I want you to do is I want you to actually play through these scales. You can do that with one finger on the piano, just like I've been showing you, counting out the wholes and halves, taking note like how many sharps are in each of them. Ideally, I would even maybe write flashcards for these, like A major on one side, and then on the other side say 3 sharps, F, C, and G. E major, 4 sharps, F, C, G, and D. So yeah, what I want you to do is make flashcards and memorize this the best you can. I know it's a lot to take in, and it's going to take a long time to memorize all of these. At least it took quite a while for me to do it. So that's what I want you to do with this page. It's going to take quite some time. There's one really important part of the page I want to show you, and it's the order of sharps and the order of flats. If you've probably noticed by now, so our first 2 keys, sharp keys, were the key of G with 1 sharp. It happened to be F sharp. The next key was D sharp. It happened to have 2 sharps, F and C. This one has 3 sharps, F, C, and G. This one has 4 sharps, F, C, G, and D. Wait a second, F, C, G, D, A. F, C, G, D, A, E. F, C, G, D, A, E, B. So as you can see, each time it adds on all the sharps from before and adds a new one. Each time we go forward in sharps or forward in flats. So this is super helpful. This is the order in which you add the sharps. So the first key has 1 sharp, F. The next key has 2 sharps, F and C, F, C, G for 3, F, C, G, D for 4, 5, 6 up to E, and then all 7. Sure enough, F, C, G, D, A, E, B, that's our order of sharps. I want you to memorize that. Really important. Make a flashcard for that too. If helpful reminder is fat cats go down alleys eating bread. Or maybe the less politically correct one. And I'm telling you, a student of mine came up with this, so blame Michaela if you get mad. This, she said, fat children gather daily at every breakfast. Don't blame me, guys. Don't blame me. She came up with it, and I like it, so I'm going to keep using it. So we got, this one I like the most. This is the order of flats. This is the order in which you add the flats. So remember the first 2 keys that we had. The first one had B flat. The next one had 2 flats, B flat and E flat. This one has B, E, A. This one has B, E, A, D. This one has B, E, A, D, G. B, E, A, D, G, C. B, E, A, D, G, C, F. And sure enough, our order of flats down here is B, E, A, D, G, C, F. I remember it as bead, greatest common factor. Bead, Well, most people know how to spell bead anyway. B-E-A-D, greatest common factor. I think that will help you out. Down here is like applying everything we talked about. Say what key signatures these are. Let's use our little trick for a second. Let's figure out this one. We're not going to look up here at all. At all. Don't do it. So anyway, first of all, we have 5 sharps. What 5 sharps do you think they are? Well, let's see. Oh, well, that one's F, that one's C, that one's G. Well, nix all that. I almost said it's a different word. You don't need that. All you need is your order of sharps, right? And say the first 5 in your order of sharps. F, C, G, D, A. Boom. We did it. What do you do to figure out the sharp keys from there? You take your one all the way to the right, which happens to be A sharp. You find A sharp on the piano, and you half step above it to B. So sure enough, this is the key of B. There, I'm doing your homework for you. Now, we have a flat scale with 5 flats. Well, let's see. Is that a B? That's an E. What are the notes? Who cares? Just say your first 5 in your order of flats. B, E, A, D, G. Now, what did I tell you with the flat scales? Well, you find the next to last one. So here's the last one. Boom, we go one over. D flat. You find D flat on your piano, and congratulations. That's the answer, D flat. So let's keep going here. Hopefully this is starting to kind of come together. It definitely takes time. This stuff right here, by the way, this lesson, Unit 8, probably the most important in the whole book, especially for like beginner theory students and even piano players. You're going to have to know how to play in these different keys, and it really helps like if you're playing in a group or you see a piece of sheet music and you're like, oh man, I have 5 sharps. F, C, G, D, and A. Got them. What key is it in? It's in key of B because you go to A and you go up a half step. Boom, got them. It gets a tiny bit more complicated with minors, like I mentioned in the last lesson, but don't worry about it for now. We build on simplicity and then build from there. Chromatic scale, super easy. And if you were paying attention earlier, I hope you were. You pay attention to your teacher, Tim, right? Well, chromatic scale is literally when you put all the notes, so say it start on C, and you just go up half step, half step, half step, half step, half step, half step, half. So you remember all that like stuff with the major scale, whole, half, whole, half. Boom, out the window with the chromatic scale. Just all half steps. You can start any note and end on that same note. Boom, we did a chromatic scale. So that's really all you got to know about the chromatic scale. It's super easy. They're just starting it on different notes. They're showing you different stuff. What's the distance between each pitch in a chromatic scale? It's a half step. Anyway, I didn't say that. You're going to have to figure that out on your own. Feeling really silly today, as you can tell. All right, let's take a look. Might as well have fun with it, right? Intervals. Interval is the distance between 2 notes. Remember when I said whole step and half step? Well, hopefully you did. I said it a second ago. So the interval is, really those are intervals. A half step is an interval, a certain type of interval. I'll tell you what it is. And a whole step is an interval. But it gets more complicated. So say you have a note in a scale. So let's say you hit C, right? And you have the second note in the scale. That's a second. They are 2 away from each other. 1, 2. What about this one? So now pretend that 2 isn't there. You have from C to E. So we went 1, 2, 3 notes. They're 3 apart. So this one's a second, and this one's a third. And that's really that easy. You count from the note you're starting on. So say we're going from E to A. Let's see how far apart that is. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's a fourth. Now, like music, they make it as complicated as possible. There's multiple different types of seconds, multiple different types of thirds, multiple different types of fourths. But don't worry about it because we're starting easy. Unison, also called the prime optimus. Anyways, so if you and your friend sang the same note at the same time, or if you had 2 pianos and you were just really baller, you had 2 of them, you could play a C on one, the same C on the other. Boom, you're playing in unison. You've probably heard that before. You're playing in C, next one's D, C to D, boom. You got a second, third, like we talked about, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, and octave. One thing I want to tell you is that all even number intervals, 2, 4, 6, 8, they don't match. Now, what am I talking about when they don't match? Well, let's take a look. I don't know why I had to show you my face for a second. Anyways, you have line and then space. They don't match. See how this one's on a line, this one's on a line? See how this one's on a line, this one's on a line, this one's on a line? Well, no, it's even. This one's on a line, that one's on a line. Well, the even numbers don't match. So line, space, line, space, line, space. And if they start on a space, the other one's going to be a line. However, all odd number intervals, line, 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 they match. And if it started on a space, it would end on a space. I'll show you that here in a second. We have melodic intervals. Just know what the intervals are up to an octave. Octave, by the way, is also called an eighth. Melodic intervals, played one at a time, like this. So that's a melodic fifth. Harmonic fifth, technically I should be playing them down here, is when you play them 2 at a time. Oh look, they showed you the exact thing I was talking about just a minute ago. That's why it helps to know this stuff, because I kind of work ahead a little bit to where the book is. You need to name the intervals. Oh no, well that's your homework. How about that? So let's take a look at the circle of fifths. Circle of fifths is another way to understand your key signatures. It's like a visual you can use to figure out which key that you're in. So here, going on the outside of the circle, we have C, no sharps, no flats. G, 1 sharp. Hey, how about that? D, 2 sharps. That's everything we learned today. A, 3 sharps. E, 4 sharps. B, 5 sharps. F sharp has 6 sharps. C sharp has 7 sharps. So you go clockwise. I always mess this up. Clockwise, and I'm 33. How about that? You go clockwise for the sharp scales. You go counterclockwise for the flat scales. I hate one quick thing. I hate when people say turn it clockwise or counterclockwise. Just say turn it right or left. I have trouble with that too. All right, so you have your flat scales going counterclockwise. You got F with 1 flat, B flat. We talked about all this. And this is just a visual representation of what we talked about. Now, why is it called the circle of fifths? Well, these notes are 5 notes away from each other. Remember when we talked about intervals? So you have from C, you get a G, and boom, 5 apart. G, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we'll bet the next key is D. Oh, it is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The next key is A. So you can also do that, counting up in fifths. This way, though, you have to be, well, no, this is down a fifth. This is down a fifth, down a fifth. Okay, so yeah, the circle of fifths does apply forward and backwards. There's a thing called the circle of fourths where it does the same thing, goes in fourths, but don't worry your head about that. Order of sharps, boom, F, C, G, D, A, B. Oh, hey, look, maximum sharps. What sharps do we have? Let's read them. F, is that a C? Never mind, it's F, C, G, D, A, B. Order of flats, what do you think it is? It's B, A, D, G, C, F. So that's why you memorize those. It makes it so much easier. Read through this. Overlapping tetrachords, not overly important, but is just another way for you to maybe visualize it. If you don't understand this, like I've actually never, I kind of get what they're saying, but I've never, it's really another way to explain the same thing. If you understand what like C major, G major, D major, A major is, and how to figure that out, you're fine. But I would give this a chance. But we got to move along because there's more to learn. But we're getting pretty close, actually, which is great. Ear training. You got more of it. So do this on your own. You got the CD in the back to figure these out. You're going to have to figure out maybe like what a whole step or half step kind of sounds like. Whole step or half step, by the way, sounds like Jaws a little bit. Whereas that has like a brighter kind of sound, the whole step. Also the beginning to Happy Birthday. So a little bit of things you can use to figure that out. Review. You can figure it out. You can do it. Intervals. You can do. Oh wait, this is the next unit. watch the next unit right here or there. I'm going to put it there just for you. So remember to subscribe, have all notifications turned on. We got new lessons coming out all the time. You don't want to miss a beat, especially when that next unit comes out, because you'll love music theory. I have some music theory courses over on my website, pianolessonsontheweb.com, which are great for a good review. Also good to learn even more, since I do cover in music theory level 3, I believe. Stuff I don't cover here. So anyway, have a great day, and I'll see you guys later.